Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha. Conquer Outdoors.
If you remember back to last season, we took you on a unique behind-the-scenes look at the defense side of Polaris and their involvement in the DARPA Robotics Challenge, or the DRC. If you didn't tune into that episode, here's a quick recap to bring you up to speed.
Thanks to our friends at Polaris Defense, we were able to catch a glimpse of what's to come, not just in the ATV world, but more specifically in the world of robotic autonomy. I was in Miami at the DARPA Robotics Challenge, or DRC, where specially funded teams came together to compete in a robotics challenge. You probably have heard of DARPA, but in the unlikely event that you have not, they are responsible for much of the technology we interact with today, being scaled down and brought into the consumer world. They're also the creators of what we now call the Internet, and are a branch of the US government that funds special research projects to help propel new technology, many times for military purposes, but also for other specific uses. Rich, from Polaris Defense, will tell us about Polaris and DARPA's relationship.
Polaris got involved with DARPA for two different reasons. Number one was their interest in hybrid technology in vehicles of our size, and we've done some work with DARPA over the last few years in that area. And specifically for this event was in unmanned ground vehicles. Polaris is the leader in ultralight mobility, and therefore the leader in ultralight mobility with unmanned platforms.
Polaris has a very new but successful history with the US military, and are now the leading suppliers of vehicles like the Ranger and the Sportsman.
Polaris's history with the US military began in 2005, officially when Polaris Defense was formed. Prior to that, we'd been providing commercial off-the-shelf technology to special forces operating in Afghanistan. And about 2005-2006 timeframe, they came to us to ask us to militarize some of our commercial off-the-shelf technology.
Knowing that the technology truly does make its way down the line to the consumer, I was interested to ask Rich what he thought about the interaction between an autonomous robot and a Polaris Ranger, because that's precisely what we were here to see.
Well, a robot interacting with a Polaris vehicle allows two things to happen. It allows Polaris, in our desire to be the unmanned platform of choice, to look at how something like a robot would interact with our vehicle, which make absolute sense for human beings who we know how they move. What we don't know is how humanoid robots move, and we learned that here in the DARPA Challenge. The second part is we get exposure of the incredible utility of our vehicles. So this DARPA Challenge is around disaster relief, and it is perhaps, aside from the military, the most perfect fit for our off-road mobility and our technology like non-pneumatic tires.
After the DARPA robotics trials last season, we were anxious to see what would happen when big prizes and prestige were put on the line. And thanks to Polaris, we got the invite back to the DARPA Robotics Finals. One of the key needs at an event like this for the on-site personnel is low or no emission people-moving vehicles. And with Polaris's recent acquisition of the GEM electric products line, this seemed like the obvious fit for DARPA. Rich Haddad brought us up to speed on Polaris's involvement.
GEM is the brand name. It used to be Global Electric Motors. We purchased that from Chrysler about 3 years ago. And so that is now part of our electric vehicle line. So what we call it is our small vehicles division. We kept the GEM brand name because it's a good brand name, and it's also got the Polaris brand name on it. But it is in fact a Polaris vehicle. It's built in Polaris factories, and it is sold through Polaris channels, whether they be Polaris dealers, former GEM dealers that are now Polaris dealers, or other channels. For example, the defense side of the business. Many of our customers are GEM customers. They're well suited for people moving and light duty hauling. And of course with the electric vehicle, they have a low carbon footprint because they can be recharged just on a regular 110 volt charging station. So some of the customers that use them, for example in DOD, the Mississippi National Guard uses the GEM vehicles as a utility vehicle inside their hangars. And their primary motivation there is there's no fumes. They go inside of closed hangars, which is really good for the troops and for everybody involved. 29 Palms and the Marine Corps on the West Coast, Camp Pendleton, are big users of them. They use them as people movers. So as you're moving people around the headquarters, taking the general out to a meeting, bringing distinguished visitors around, that sort of thing. They're and general admin runs if you're moving documents or mail across the base. You don't have to use up fuel. You don't have to have a licensed driver, use a licensed driver for a Humvee or some other tactical vehicle. You can use your GEM.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
At the DARPA Robotics Challenge, it made sense to use the GEM product line because of their low emission and low noise characteristics. But it also made sense because they have such a wide product line, from the multi-passenger, people-moving platforms right down to the really cool pickup truck style platform that would actually take a robot right in the back.
We've been involved with the DARPA program for about 3 years now. Last year we were heavily involved down in Miami with our Ranger vehicle, and the Ranger vehicle is being used today for the challenge. That's the vehicle that the robots are required to drive, and we spoke about that last year. So what I'll talk about a little bit today is the GEM vehicles. So when we were talking to DARPA, they said we've got a fairly good-sized campus here at the Pomona facility. We're wondering if you have some people mover type vehicles so we can take distinguished visitors around, we can do admin runs, we can move things in and around the facility. And we said, of course we do. Our electric vehicle line, which includes GEM and the EM100, which is an electric Ranger, are well suited for what we would call light duty and people movers. So where they're being used around here, and you see the vehicle behind us, you can put 4 passengers in that. You can carry bottles of water, you can carry your camera, you can put some gear in the back to move back and forth across this large campus to support the different teams. The other place that it's used regularly is with distinguished visitors. So for example, you don't want your high up government officials to have to walk from the front gate or from registration to go back and see the robot center, because it's about a quarter of a mile, so you can take them and move them in these people movers. It's quiet. There's no combustion vehicle there. It's an electric vehicle, so you can have a conversation. You can give a tour, I can give a tour. You can talk to your riders when you're in the GEM vehicle. So that's what we're doing here is what I would call the breadth of utility support across this campus, from light duty hauling. In fact, they're hauling some of the robots back and forth to the competition. Light duty hauling to people moving, which is right in the sweet spot for our GEM vehicle line.
One of the lingering questions that I had for Rich was not about Polaris's involvement at the DARPA Robotics Challenge, but about how Polaris sees this benefiting Polaris defense in the future.
So as I mentioned, we've been working with the DARPA Robotics Rodeo for a couple years. We have some other projects going with DARPA. DARPA is involved in military and defense type of technology and advancements. And so one of the initiatives that Dr. Towsley in the Tactical Technology Office is looking at is how do we use unmanned capability, robots if you will, or robotic capabilities to lighten the load. How do you get ammunition to the front? How do you get casualties back from the front? How do you do general administrative tasks where you have to bring fresh troops to the front? How do you take supplies to a listening post or an observation post? And so he's been using some of our vehicles in some of those experiments, which is of course what DARPA does, is the experiment. Can you put together a swarm of small robots to go out there and do things like logistics supply, casualty evacuation, movement of VIPs, moving communications up to a site that you've set up, those type of missions that right now you do either on foot or you require a driver, and that driver is going to have an asset that's part of the tactical mobility of that unit to go do an administrative task. So can you do that with a robot?
After speaking with Rich, there was much more clarity brought to the situation, and we started to understand how the DARPA and Polaris connection truly works. And while we realize that humanoid robots are still in their infancy, we also understand that Polaris wants to get in at the ground floor.
I'm starting to view Polaris as off-road mobility experts that can really speak to the tactical nature of ultralight capability. And the reason we can do that is because our Special Forces customer that we've had for 4 years, and we've fielded over 500 vehicles with them, we do understand how they use them. They come to us to help us improve the vehicles for their applications. DARPA sees that and they think, well, that's kind of a freebie. We can go ask the Polaris guys because they were already doing this stuff. And that's an advantage for Polaris because, of course, we're able to get a deeper relationship with DARPA and then also be viewed as somebody that they'll come to when they want to do something that's better, faster, cheaper. And that's really the Polaris defense motto within the defense community is better, faster, cheaper. We're commercial off the shelf guys. We can get it to you fast. We can get it to you at a very low dollar amount compared to some of the military vehicles and the programs that they're used to dealing with.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
When you think of safety, security, and functionality, you probably assume I'm referring to a side-by-side. But on today's episode, I have a completely different product that the crew here at Trax simply can't live without. We travel a lot, both personally and for the show, so we put a lot of miles on our trucks. We use them to their full capability, and we believe a truck isn't completely capable until you install a Diamondback cover. And with Diamondback, you get so much more than just a unique way to carry your ATV or side-by-side. One of the hallmarks of a Diamondback cover is its unmatched durability. With over 100,000 miles on our current Diamondback, we know that they build a superior product. Truth is, your Diamondback will most likely outlast your truck. And for us, it's come time to retire the old Trax truck for a new one. And top of our list of must-haves, you got it, a Diamondback. But hauling ATVs and side-by-sides isn't the only reason why. And you might just be surprised with all the other handy uses a Diamondback cover provides. Diamondback covers are super easy to use. They're extremely heavy duty, but keep in mind, they're not all that heavy in themselves. Thanks to aluminum checker plate and a unique aluminum frame, the Diamondback is an easy install for one person, meaning you can not only put the panels on yourself, you can take them off should you need to, or if needs be, you can run with just the front or rear panel removed to give you extra capability. In my opinion, it's the best bed cover built. The cover I've installed today is the Diamondback HD, which means that it's ready for ATVs, side-by-sides, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff that you can think to put on top. But possibly one of the coolest features of this cover is not just what goes on top. And what I mean by that is this. Underneath the beautiful Line-X aluminum cover is the entire capacity of your truck's box. It's not obstructed by supports or bulky hand clamps. You can use slick undercover storage boxes to store loose items, and it's totally weatherproof, thanks to a beefy weather seal and gutter-like center panel design. And most importantly, it's safe, thanks to dual cam-style twist locks. And as long as you've got a tailgate lock on your truck, your gear ain't going nowhere. So all your gear is now safe, it's dry, and it's secure. But what more can you do with a Diamondback cover? Well, the possibilities truly are endless. Your entire box capacity, plus the impressive 1,600 pounds the Diamondback HD takes on top, allow far more than just a couple ATVs or a side-by-side. You can haul just about anything, and for us around the Trax headquarters, it usually means weekend project material for around the house. Because it's a Diamondback, we don't have to struggle to put all our tools in the cab. They slide right in under the load. While the stock Diamondback cover is very functional, Diamondback makes a whole lot of accessories that take the functionality to the next level, and one in particular that we want to show you today. The headache rack is anything but a headache and saves you quite a few. When truly putting your cover to the test and utilizing the 1,600 pounds capacity, you may find material creeping closer to your rear window. The headache rack bolts directly to the cover and does not hinder any of the functions of the Diamondback, but gives you increased safety and thanks to the contoured design, looks really nice. Diamondback's motto says it's your truck, use it. And we don't think you're going to be able to fully use your vehicle unless you've got a Diamondback cover installed. And once you do, we don't think you're going to be able to live without it.
After many years of testing all the latest and greatest side-by-sides and ATVs, I'm rarely surprised. Generally speaking, specs and appearance hint strongly at the kind of ride you can expect from the vehicle sitting in front of you. But every now and then, a side-by-side or ATV does something more. Every now and then, my pre-ride expectations are squashed after only a few miles on the trail. They may be few and far between, but these types of surprises do happen. With its very utilitarian appearance and a feature list that reads more like a tractor than an ATV, it would be both easy and forgivable to mistake the John Deere 825i as an all-work, no-play type unit. But a mistake that would certainly be. The heart of the 825 is its 3-cylinder mill. Produced for John Deere by Cherry, it's packing electronic fuel injection, 12 valves, double overhead cams, and is outputting approximately 50 horsepower. On paper, it doesn't seem like anything special, but what's made us fall head over heels for this thing is its buttery, almost electric smoothness. The 825i is also equipped with what John Deere calls their Very throttle, which adjusts how the engine responds to throttle inputs based on how light or hard you hit the pedal. In short, it's ultra smooth when you're taking it easy, and it can break the tires loose when you want to take things up a notch. Power is transferred through a slick, high-low transmission to a set of CVT clutches. shiftable, fully locked 4x4 can be toggled via a dash-mounted switch, and you can unlock the rear diff with a lever down here to save your grass if needed. Something that might surprise you about not just the 825i, but John Deere side-by-sides in general, is that Deere offers a massive list of upgrades for every side-by-side in their lineup. What's even more impressive is that not only can you load up your ride with cool toys, but you can custom order your 825i straight from the factory in just about any combination you want. Just like buying a car, you check off the features you like, wait a few weeks, and boom, the side-by-side of your dreams shows up at your dealer, ready to go. This unit came to us with a number of upgrades already installed. High back bucket seats, a roof, doors, front and rear brush guards, and auxiliary lighting, all kinds of cool toys. Its 75-watt alternator is capable of supplying more than enough juice for anything else we may want to throw at it. But there's no question, the nicest feature of this vehicle is its power-tilting Line-X-coated dump box. Why is this so sweet? Well, it goes hand in hand with another of the 825's impressive specifications, its cargo capacity. The 825 can tow a massive 1,500 pounds, but it can haul a very conservatively rated 1,000 pounds in the bed. I don't know about you, but a cargo bed with 1,000 pounds of whatever isn't something I want to try and lift. By this point, it's gotta be pretty obvious. Despite its racy green and yellow paint scheme and trick aluminum wheels, the 825i is built to work hard. That fact was never a surprise to us, and it shouldn't have been to you either. If you need to get the job done, you've always been able to depend on a John Deere, and the 825i is no exception. But here's the kicker. This fantastic utility vehicle has become one of the Dirt Trax crew's favorite trail rides as well. When we need a multi-purpose vehicle, this is the one we fight over. Why? Simply put, this thing rides freaking amazing. It might only have an average 8 inches of front and 9 inches of rear suspension travel, and it might only have preload adjustable shocks. But man, that thing makes bumps disappear. It's not overly fast, and even if it was, it's speed limited to 44 miles an hour. On the trail, that's more than enough though. The driving position is more Greyhound bus than it is desert buggy, but that's not a big deal either. That ultra-smooth motor combined with soft, plush suspension and excellent power steering make the 825i one of the easiest, most relaxing side-by-sides to drive, even on the gnarliest trails. Excellent mud protection and a relocated CV intake mean even the worst conditions won't stop you, and you'll remain comfortable, clean, and surprisingly dry as well. John Deere does not advertise the 825i as a sport utility machine, and its specs don't suggest that it is one. It's impossible to ignore that its less than heart-pounding top speed is going to limit the kind of recreational riding you might want to do with it. But at the end of the day, most people don't ride trails at 60 miles an hour. We like to think we do, but it's just not reality. What we all really want from a sport ute is the lowest number of compromises with the highest level of capability. The 825i would be easy to overlook for anything but utility purposes. That would be a huge mistake. Head over to your local John Deere dealer and have a look at an 825i. Check out the crazy list of factory available options and ignore the voice in your head telling you this thing can't be fun on the trail, because that voice is very wrong. More and more state, provincial, and even municipal governments are beginning to see the value in allowing greater access for side-by-sides and ATVs into their cities and towns. Obviously, the economic impact of ATV riders coming into town and visiting businesses like gas stations, restaurants, hotels is huge for small towns across North America. Up until now, many areas have not allowed side-by-sides and ATVs to travel on public roads in order to access towns. But recently, even places as restrictive as Ontario, Canada, have begun to change the rules restricting side-by-side and ATV use on public roads, allowing better access into those small towns and communities. So if you live in an area that currently doesn't allow ATVs and side-by-sides on public roads in order to access your town or community, we urge you, don't give up. Continue to petition your local government representatives and make sure they understand how important ATVs and side-by-sides are to the future of your community.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. Can-Am, the ride says it all. And by Arctic Cat. Share our passion.
Like the video you just saw? Do you want to see more? Click the subscribe link and add the Dirt Trax channel, and you're going to see a whole lot more great content.